Welcome back to Farage at Large here in Folkestone, and there is no issue that is more contentious in Kent at the moment than what is going on in the English Channel. Last year, 8,400 people crossed the Channel. These are illegal crossings. They're organised by criminal gangs. The people that come, well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because earlier this week, here in Folkestone, because Folkestone's always the front line of everything, there was a puppet, a 3.5-metre tall puppet of a Syrian girl, appeared here in Folkestone this week, and Jude Law, being the lovey that he is, turned up as if to say, isn't it wonderful, you know, we're opening our arms, we're offering the hand of friendship to poor people from all over the world. The one thing about that argument that's always struck me is, firstly, those that come are coming from a safe country, namely France, which is a safe country, unless you're a British fisherman, it might be different then. But that over 90% of those that have come this year aren't young Syrian girls, they're young men. They're young men between the ages of 18 and 30, and most of whom, I think, would have come from countries where they would never qualify for refugee status. This is an issue that I felt very, very strongly about. But I could see that the pull factors are very great. And the pull factors are that you come to this country, you're going to get put up in a 4-star hotel, you're going to get put up in private accommodation, you're going to get 3 meals a day, you're going to get dental care, you might even get to see a GP, which many living in this country can't. You'll get 38 quid a week spending money, and, if we're being frank about it, the illegal economy in this country is too big, and many will finish up working in the black market, earning cash in hand, although the reality for most will be, far from being Dick Whittington's dream, many of the men will end up in effective slavery, and as far as the women are concerned, well, you can make your own minds up on that. I said earlier this year I thought the number this year would be 20,000. Well, we're almost at 20,000 already, and if we get some good weather between now and Christmas, it will be 30,000. And next year, who's to say, unless something changes, this could be on the scale of the Mediterranean. I really mean it. So let's analyse what's going on here, and let's find out, is there a solution? And I'm joined, firstly, by Ivan Sampson, immigration lawyer at Privadas. Ivan, we can't go on like this, can we?
Well, Nigel, look, I deal in facts. As a lawyer, I present facts, I look at the law and attach facts to the law.
What did I just say that wasn't factual?
Well, first of all, you said that most of these people are, you inferred they're economic migrants.
I did.
The reality is that if you heard the Home Affairs Select Committee on the 3rd of September, where Abby Tierney, the Home Office official giving evidence, said that the 2/3 of those crossing the Channel are genuine refugees. That's a fact.
Okay. Is that because they're in fear of their lives and their liberty because of their religion or their race?
Well, it's because the Refugee Convention says they are, and they've been assessed and deemed to be refugees by the Home Office. That's a fact.
But hang on a second, that's wrong, isn't it?
No, that's absolutely correct.
Because when it takes months or years, but when it comes to actually them being assessed, the vast majority fail.
No. I'm talking about the Channel crossings.
So am I.
That's what we're talking about.
So am I.
So 70% of those coming across the Channel have actually claimed asylum previously. And this is the problem, because we can't return them to France. And the reason we can't return them, because we are no longer part of the Dublin Convention. That's the problem. So what Priti Patel should be doing is entering into bilateral agreements with the European Union so that 70% of them could be returned.
I have to say, Ivan, your figures, I dispute your figures completely. I think the numbers that have claimed asylum previously are probably nearer 20% than 70%, because the Holy Grail is getting to this country, because they can see this country is a soft touch in every way. You know, we're going to give people 4-star accommodation, we're going to look after them medically, and they know. I mean, of those that have come this year, even if your figure was right, and it's not, but even if your figure was right, if the 30% that have come this year would never qualify, not one has been deported. Not one.
There's a reason for that. The problem Priti Patel has is twofold. One is that they don't have identity documents.
And why is that?
Because most of them will dispose of them before getting here.
Well, shouldn't that disqualify them?
Well, look, I'll give you an example. As a refugee, you can actually enter into the country with a false document. You can do that. You can have a fake passport. The Refugee Convention was drafted loosely because the founders who drafted it knew the problems that refugees face. Look, I dealt with a refugee recently, 2 sisters. One had been shot in the head by a criminal gang. The other one had been told, while we rape you, unless you enjoy it, we're going to shoot you as well. You see, these are the types of people, the genuine refugees. What we have to do is identify the genuine refugees.
So these, I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I think we all understand there are genuine refugees, and this country, through centuries, has given home to French Huguenots, to Jewish people, to Ugandan Asians. I mean, nobody could ever say this country wasn't closed-minded to those in genuine need. I think the problem we have are the images, Ivan, of very, and quite often quite aggressive young men coming into this country, and we're asking ourselves why. We're asking ourselves, where's the end to this? And let me ask you this question. What number is acceptable to cross the Channel for us?
I think as a country we need to accept about 100,000 a year. And let me explain, because I know it sounds like a shock to you.
No, go on, please. I'm all ears.
We have about 26 million refugees. Amnesty International is genuine refugees around the world, approximately. Of those, half are children. We accept about 3,000 children a year of the 14 million refugee children in the world. That's what we accept, 3,300 every year. There are 149 signatories to the convention. Now, we accept 0.001% of the refugees in the world. Those are the facts. If you look at Germany, they accept 100,000. I accept it's a bigger country with a greater population, but if we worked out per capita, we can stop the migrant channel crossing by simply processing each refugee outside the UK in designated centres.
And is that your solution to the channel problem?
And the UNHCR needs to allocate refugees. Every country needs to take their share, including this.
So, Ivan, your proposal for solving this problem, and I mean, I'm amazed there have not been mass drownings. I'm amazed, given how busy those shipping lanes are, we've not had a day when 50 are drowned or whatever. Is your solution, and we may disagree on numbers, but is your solution to this, we have an offshore processing centre to see who is and is not a refugee?
Absolutely.
All right. I'm going to go to Alp Mehmet, Migration Watch. I mean, you may disagree with the numbers that Ivan's put forward, but is the idea of an offshore processing centre perhaps allied to saying that anybody that wants to come across by boat will never be allowed to stay? Could that be a way through this problem?
Where does one start? There's a great deal that I disagree with Ivan on, without going into detail. So before I come back to your
Well, let's start with detail. He says 100,000 a year. What do you think?
Most certainly not. That's
not really an answer, is it? Come on.
Well, wait a minute. Let's bear in mind that over the last 20 years, just 20 years, 4.5 million overseas people, foreigners, 4.5 million have actually come to this country. So it's not as if we haven't got foreign people, immigrants coming into the country. I know we're talking about refugees, we're talking about asylum seekers. Germany, 100,000. How many of those does Germany actually wants to be there? A lot of them are there anyway. The Continentals, frankly, are in no position to lecture to us about how we treat asylum seekers and refugees. In France, those who apply for asylum, at the first decision that's made, the most recent figures that I've had, 20% were accepted, 80% were rejected. They failed. In this country, the first decision-making part of the process, 54% have been accepted. We have had thousands, be it the Syrian scheme, be it now the Afghan scheme, be it those who actually enter legally but then decide not to go, and when they're nabbed, what do? They appeal, they apply for asylum. With those that haven't gone back, it has nothing to do with the Dublin Convention, which was a total waste of time. It took a huge amount of resources actually to assess and analyse people, and then it was very much a case, many more coming in this direction than went in the other direction. So, I won't have it, frankly, that somehow when we were part of the EU, this was all a lot easier. The reason why they're coming, I'll tell you why they're coming, and you're right, more than double really what it was last year, and we were both saying at the beginning of the year we're heading towards 25,000. Well, we're almost at the 25,000 level.
20,
now. The fact is that people are coming because they can, because it's easy. The moment that you are stepping into a dinghy, you're effectively home and dry. Until we can reverse that perception.
I agree with that. But it's okay, because Priti Patel gave a tough speech at the Tory conference, so it's all going to be sorted, isn't it?
Did she?
Oh, yes, she always gives tough speeches.
I didn't hear any toughness in the speech that she gave. It was...
But I mean, the point, Ivan's right, isn't it? That as soon as they're in a dinghy, as soon as they're a couple of hundred yards off the shore, they're here, they're going to stay. If we sat here this time next year, where would we be with this?
I think, look, we need to take asylum process out of the hands of the Home Office. They're not fit to run the asylum system.
You might get a big level of agreement in this room on that one, I think.
If you look at the backlog of asylum decisions and the length of time it takes to make those decisions,
I know.
It's years. And it costs an extraordinary amount of money.
So this time next year, where will we be?
I think there's going to be bilateral agreements. There has to be.
With France?
With France. Well, with the whole of the EU 27. But we need to put asylum in the hands of the UNCHR. That's what we need to do. See, if we had an offshore processing centre, when a migrant came across to the UK, we just send them back. Legally. Send them back.
No, I get that point I get.
We would take the decision-making process, we should take it out of the hands of the Home Office, put it in the hands of the UNCHR, fund it
I suspect,
by the 149 countries signed
I
up
suspect if UNHCR were in charge, but they'd be ask us to take $1 million every year. Final word to you, Alp. Final word to you, Alp. Where are we going to be this time next year?
Where are we? It depends, but my belief is that very little will happen to change what is happening now, and we could be looking at 30,000, 40,000 next year. And unless we start sending people back and really being forceful about that, I'm afraid it's going to continue because they can.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you very much, both indeed. Thank you, Farage. Thank you.